So what kind of pie was it?
It was a lamb and rosemary pie.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm not gonna shame the place I got it from because I like them and I like the shop. I'm just gonna put it down to a bad day.
Okay, yeah, that'll do.
Hello, everybody. There'll be nobody here yet, but people will get notifications and start arriving soon. So if you have already joined us, which you haven't, we won't start really saying anything until anybody has. We can see when people start joining us, I think.
I am posting
Yeah, you can.
X.
Chuck it up in the disco. West Tigers. Faithful. Finally, faith repaid. Club. Showing some, staunch fan advocacy, I think. I think for once the supporter groups, the players, the administration, the coaches, and the NRL media, and the rest of the NRL are all aligned together. And unfortunately, the villain is the Messiah.
It is. I mean, it's been another big day. Another big day. There's some things to discuss. Mainly just around... It's been a good day. It's mainly just some things to discuss around what went on, what comes next. And there's a game to review and a game to preview.
Yeah, true. Hello, those who just joined us. We'll be starting in a second. Just wait until 5 p.m. Eastern to press that go live button and play State Fair.
Very nice. There you go.
Awesome. All right, we are good to go. Let's hit the tunage.
Tigers Faithful, it's either episode 28 or 29. I don't know whether or not we called yesterday's proceedings an episode, but my name's Jared Reedie and I'm reporting to you live from my office. Joe McCord is with me and he is wearing a wonderful retro jersey, one of the all-time greats, the Phillips Balmain kit. And even as a man from the west side of the merger, I can most certainly appreciate. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. How are you? I had a nice day off at work today. I'm in my home office today, so forgive me if we have a little bit of issue with reception and things like that. Should be fine though.
Indeed, it will. As AJ always says, we're going to be all right. And today proves that, despite the fact that the man that we once had as the Messiah really settled in today, that his decision is quite final. It manifested in that way in a couple of ways. But now that the dust has settled, and we'll talk about player interactions and him being dropped from the team, where are you at now?
Like I said yesterday, if anybody's joining us today and didn't tune in yesterday, which I assume at least somebody will, yesterday I kind of said that I was going to come into today's episode suggesting that he get rested in the South Wales Cup and that Adam Dewey play in the halves this week. So, I guess that puts into perspective where my head's at with it. Like, I think, Lachlan Galvin's obviously a supreme talent, prodigious talent, got a lot of potential, very high floor, but I don't know what all of the fuss is about. He's a 19-year-old. There's so many ways this thing could still go, and he got given an insanely good offer, and Isaac Moses turned it down. What do? You do what the club did.
It's been a really, really interesting, I'm going to say, 24 hours since we last jumped on here. We've actually got some updates on the mail that we shared around Daily Cherry Evans that we'll talk about a little bit later. But NRL 360 for the first time in God knows how long was really enjoyable viewing as a Tigers fan for the first time in distant memory. There was a Michael Chamis article that came out that really painted Lachlan in a poor light, in my opinion. It really felt like it was an Isaac Moses press release. There were some things made mention of around Galvin being concerned about Luai's relationship with one Bunji Marshall. Didn't like the fact that he was going to be playing second fiddle to one Jerome Luai, a four-time premiership winner, State of Origin winner, and has captained his country to a World Cup final. But a 19-year-old that's won 33% of his games deserves to be the main man there, apparently. But I guess the thing that really disappointed me the most was that Marshall caught wind late last week that Lachlan was going to reject the offer. And the reason that he was going to reject it was because he thought that Bunji Marshall's development of him was not up to standard. And when Bunji actually asked him about it to his face, Lachlan said, "Oh no, it's not that, and I'm just not ready to make a decision yet." And you fast forward a few days, and we're here. It's extremely disappointing. And look, he's a young fella. This decision wouldn't have been solely made on his own, but mate, to hear that, Lachlan's parents are screening calls and texts from Shane Richardson, that Isaac Moses, reiterated multiple times without, even simply mulling over the offer. It boggles the mind, but this is the decision they've made, and the finality of it really, really, really hit hard about an hour ago when the team list came out.
Absolutely. What you're referring to there is the fact that he was indeed dropped to New South Wales Cup. He'll be running around at Lidcombe Oval this weekend, on Monday, sorry. They are also playing on Monday. And in his spot, Jerome Luai, which is an interesting development that's probably going to not be talked about all that much. But Jerome Luai moves to 6, Adam Dewey into the 7 straight away.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about the lead-up before we got there. There's been a lot of commentary recently, but I guess there was a bit of conversations around, and we were having them too, in terms of whether you pick him, whether you don't. A lot of people, both in the comments yesterday and in and around X and so forth, believed that Lachlan's situation was untenable. I believed, and I said as much on the podcast yesterday, that he was going to pick him. I think that Marshall probably wanted to show that, he could rise above that, and he was solely focused on winning games, and that was his number one priority. But then you hear late last night, Luai and Uppy went to, and the rest of the leadership group went to Bunji and said, well, he's disrespected you, and by extension, he's disrespected us, and we don't want a bloke like that in the trenches.
Yeah, and I think further to that, I just want to sort of backtrack slightly and say that where Lachlan Galvin's head's at, as it pertains to all of this, is really not possible to see outside of the fact that he obviously is complicit in the decision-making process of wanting to go to market. That's the only thing that we know for sure about Lachlan Galvin's opinion. Everything else could easily just be agent speak. Everything else could easily just be agent speak. Like, as soon as you make the decision to go, I don't want to see the offer that they're making, I don't want to have those conversations with them right now, everything from that point forward, you don't know for sure it came from him. You don't know for sure it's a reflection truly of how he feels. And even if it is a reflection of how he feels, James Tedesco came out in the media today and actually sort of leapt to Bunji Marshall's defence, ironically enough. And one of the things that he said was that he knows Bunji really well, and he knows, regardless of what's true or what's not true, Bunji Marshall will have Lachlan Galvin's best interests at heart throughout all of this. He will be understanding throughout all of this. He's not gonna take it personally and overreact. And from that perspective, I think it's plausible to me that even some of these stories, like about Bunji not necessarily being, party to the decision-making process of dropping Galvin, might not be true, because in reality, like, dropping him this week is probably in his best interest, because it takes him out of the spotlight. He's not going to be, asked questions by the press during media throughout the game week. He's not going to be running out on the field getting booed, so it's hard to say what's true or what isn't true, aside from, the absolute ultimate facts.
Yeah, definitely, and it felt like with the Chamis article and even Brent Reed and some of the narratives that he's pushed that, yeah, it felt very doctored from one Mitchell Moses, the great Cole
Moses.
Isaac Moses, sorry. Sorry, I got distracted. The great Cole Bell's with us, a very good mate of mine. I'm a very passionate West Tigers fan. What was your take on Coruscant and Newy speaking to Marshall and effectively saying we think it's time to drop him? Obviously, we've seen the Instagram story from Jerome. We've seen him move into the 6 jersey this week. Coming across as very selfless. But I said on X today on our account that we as supporters can be delighted that this playing group is so far, is just backing their coach and their club to the hilt. And Fanua Bole and Sione Fainu have done very, very much the same with their reactions on social media.
Yeah, and as Andrew points out, I think that, and this is what I was getting at after the game on Sunday, I don't think that Lachlan Galvin's place in the team was necessarily guaranteed at this point, given his form and given the fact that he is a young player. On the topic of Newy and Coruscant and Bole's reaction, and I think even another player also reacted to something on Instagram.
Sione
Fainu. Great. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I'm a little bit introspective and a little bit, I guess, I sometimes like to go out blazing with hot takes, but when things are kind of actually a little bit kind of unclear, I'm a little bit more reserved to make them. All I'll say about that is that it's obvious that part of the playing group are very galvanized, pun intended. I had to get that one in there.
Beat me to it.
You guys, if you got any journos watching this one, feel free to print that in the telly tomorrow. Tigers players galvanized by Galvin exit. Perfect headline. Have that one for free, losers. But yeah, I think I think we'll probably come out and play better, because after the game on Sunday, we were kind of reaching to understand how the hell we managed to win that game first and foremost, but in how bad we played. And now it's pretty obvious why we were rattled and why Galvin wasn't playing very good, because this all came out before the game. So
yes.
Now that that's off the table, the playing group's together. They've put a steady hand in the halves in Adam Dewey, who, he for all his limitations as a player, he is far from the worst half in the fucking NRL running around right now. Absolutely, middle of the pack half in the NRL. And he has some weapons that we actually were lacking. I touched on that yesterday. I think, we'll be able to rain down hell on Iongi now that Dewey's going to be wearing the 7 and putting up those juicy spiral kicks. I don't know about you, but I think Dewey might have the second best bomb in the NRL behind Burton. So I'm pretty happy. I'm not super bothered.
We'll preview it in a sec. We'll talk about it soon. Just going back to the matter at hand with Lachlan Galvin, I actually spoke to you earlier in the day and said, let's just completely take the piss on why fucking Isaac Moses doesn't like Benji Marshall, but you actually managed to come up with a pretty plausible theory. Do you mind sharing that?
I guess so. I mean, it's. I was thinking about it from the perspective of if I was in Isaac Moses' shoes and this was a reasonable thing for me to have done, and when I say this, I mean everything, dating back to the Big Four saga and everything, trying to track Isaac Moses' root source of animosity towards the Tigers, and just speculating. I'm thinking maybe it stems back to the initial fallout between the West Tigers and Tim Sheens back in 2012. Because if you remember back to that, Tim Sheens was re-signed and extended for quite a long time. I think it was a 5-year extension at the time, and then sacked at the end of 2012 after we missed the 8. Then he litigated, and that litigation went on for quite some time. And throughout that period, I think that there's much to be said about potentially, the dissolution of the relationship between Moses and the Tigers throughout that. But then fast forward to that Big Four drama, and something that I read today, and it was off the back of trying to kind of figure out where Galvin might end up. And I was trying to think, maybe Cleary wants him because, imagine how happy Cleary would be to take Galvin as a fuck you back to us for taking Newy. But then I saw a quote from Ivan Cleary from when Moses left. And Ivan Cleary singled out Isaac Moses and basically said to him, you're playing with people's livelihoods here to win a political game. And the tone of that, to me, felt like Cleary wasn't saying that Moses had a problem with Cleary. He was sort of pointing out that Moses has a problem with the West Tigers in general. And if Moses has a problem with the West Tigers in general, then he has a problem with the club, he has a problem with the Holman Barnes group, and he has a problem with the board. The only time since that we've actually seemed to have some sort of relationship that was cordial with Isaac Moses when Sheens was here. When we brought him back, suddenly we're bringing in John Bateman, David Clemmer, signing Lachlan Galvin to a 3-year deal, and everything's cordial all of a sudden again. Moses goes, and here we are once more. John Bateman's off talking shit about the club, David Clemmer's off, and now Lachlan Galvin's off. So I guess that brings you to the pertinent point, which is, what does the club do about Jari Mbula?
Let's talk about that in a second. Just got some breaking news thanks to Belly. Galvin and his father have just put out an article with both of Isaac Moses' meat puppets, David Riccio and Brent Reed. It's effectively a statement. So, probably written by Isaac. I totally understand my decision will frustrate many West Tigers fans, but please know that it was not an easy call to make. It's a decision that I have discussed at length with my parents, closest friends and family. I'm extremely grateful for their love and support in making this call. The biggest reason why I made this call right now is so that the West Tigers have enough time to plan their roster without me in the future. That's the absolute truth of it. The club were eager to get a deal done, and so they called a meeting with my management last week. I could have mulled over this decision all season, but I did not think it was the right thing to do. I thought it would be best for everyone to make a call now rather than drag it out. Any suggestion that I already have a deal done at another club for 2027 is simply not true. I'm grateful to be able to go to work every day as an NRL player, and the West Tigers have played a massive role in the opportunity I have to play this game. I just feel that as I move into an important period of my development as a half, that I continue to build my game at a different club. Again, I know this might be hard for some people to understand, but I make this decision with the best interests of my career. Thoughts?
It's a good statement in the sense that there's nothing in it that you can factually pick apart, but there are certainly elements of it that are probably, oh, look, can it be true? Can the whole statement just be true? Of course. I think I made the comment yesterday that I think that, Lachlan Galvin deciding that he doesn't want to be part of the West Tigers, doesn't want to sign to this particular club on massive coin. I said that if he did that, he'd be putting a noose around his neck. I made that statement.
Yep.
So if Lachlan Galvin feels the same way, then he's made a smart decision. From my perspective, how could I hold that as a fact and then say that he's made the wrong call? And if that is truly the reason that he made the decision, then actually pulling the pin on it in round 7, 2025 is actually pretty good form on his part if it's true. You got to wonder why he doesn't want to be here, but I think that there's a pretty good, logical, basic possible reason. He just feels like that being at the West Tigers on massive coin is gonna be like a handbrake to him and put too much pressure on him as a player.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Look, I think it's probably one for a later date. I did promise actually a quarterly season review this week, but this has just exploded. But I think there's a lot to be said for the work that Marshall has done developing some of these players. I look at guys like Samuel Afinu and Alex Seafarth, our back rowers, Alex Twal, Fanua Bolle, these sorts of guys, Stafford Toa, Jareem Buller, Lachlan Galvin himself. I think there's a fair school of thought that Benji's done okay as a guy that develops. Now, look, if Lachlan Galvin, right, if he thinks that do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Go on.
Who's Luke Brooks's agent?
Isaac.
Right, and what's the prevailing opinion about Luke Brooks spending all that time at the Tigers only to leave after 10 years? Isn't the average opinion that, you know, he should have gone ages ago because, you know, he obviously he wasn't getting what he needed from the club and he was burned out and it wasted 10 years of the club's time and...
Okay. Yes.
So, like, if you're Isaac Moses, doesn't it, like, stand to reason that you're looking at, like, history repeating itself by accepting this offer?
I don't disagree, but the kid has been put on a pedestal from the moment he was crowned a schoolboys champion. He was put in the top 30 straight away. There were many people, myself included, that had no clue of who he was or whether or not he could make it stick. Physically, he was nowhere near up to it. There were still questions on whether or not he was a six or a back rower. Now, there is no denying his talent. Not at all. We've seen this kid play since he was 17 years old. I always knew that he was destined to play for the Kangaroos. But nonetheless, for him to have not played a New South Wales Cup game, nor a Jersey Flegg game, or even a second season of SG ball, and go straight into that team and backed by Benji Marshall and given the licence to roam and play football in the manner that he does. Like, if Lachlan, hypothetically, if he's worried about picking apart edges, if he's worried about the subtleties of his game, Marshall will bring that. Marshall was the king of look inside, play outside, shape with your hips, look long, play short. Like,
I don't think that's what he's worried about. I think, like, if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't be worried about the X's and O's. I would be worried about the intangibles. And the big intangible here is the club and how the club is viewed and how the club is treated in the media and the pressure that comes with being the heir apparent to the club, being coached by the greatest player of all time. It's just too much pressure. And like your lead consultant, the guy who has been around the sport more than anybody else that is your agent, is Luke Brooks's agent, who negotiated Luke Brooks through that whole saga. And Luke Brooks, do you agree that Luke Brooks probably went against Isaac Moses's like recommendations all those times he renewed with the Tigers and showed the Tigers loyalty and stayed with the club?
Okay,
like, that's Luke Brooks's. That's what Luke Brooks will tell you is the facts.
Okay,
I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I know
and I totally get it. And quite frankly, I agree with you. And your theories around the Tim Sheens, Warren McDonald, Isaac Moses triumvirate makes a lot of sense. Looking at it, and purely playing devil's advocate on the other side. We are night and day from the club we were when Luke Brooks went through what he went through in the 2010s. There is a strong board. There is a strong CEO who has genuinely won competitions. We are financially secure. There is a playing roster here that can genuinely compete for titles within 2 to 3 years. There is a coach that, yes, he's still on his training wheels, but still has pulling power, has shown that he can develop footballers, has built, a culture that we have not had since the days of making finals.
And all those reasons are probably the reasons why the decision wasn't super easy. Like, because you're not lying, you're speaking facts here. But
was it that? Was it that?
Three wooden spoons. They're coming from the bottom. They're heaping pressure on him. Benji Marshall's game plan has been to tell Luai to shuffle the ball onto him. They're like trying to put all their attack through him. He's pretty much the only person that's getting try assists this year. last year he was he should have been our player of the year. I think Sam Weller getting our player of the year was weird, to be honest. Like, that's my opinion. Like, I could see it from both perspectives. Am I disappointed? No. And I guess that's probably why I'm able to see it with a bit of clarity, because I don't particularly give a shit. Like, and this is coming from somebody, like, play the tape back, man. Like, some of the shit that I say about Lachlan Galvin, I was saying the shit that Phil Gould says about him before Phil Gould was saying it. I was saying the shit about him before he was in first grade. And I'm still, it's NRL, man. He's one fucking, like, rolled syndesmosis injury away from a chronic injury. He's fucking, he stays at West Tigers and he puts a noose around his neck and he, like, drags his career through the muck of having to, you know, even if we finish 9th and miss the 8, this club is a sort of club where that can fucking break the club back again into the dark ages. There's a lot to be said about the optics around the club right now with Richo and the playing roster and the centre of excellence and the fact that we're 3 wins and 3 losses and stuff like that. But it's still early days to, like, say that, you know, he should be able to see right now that this is a club to put its, like, you know, stake in the dirt over is probably being a little bit naive. My point here is, let's move on. Latu Fainu was a fucking more touted prospect than Lachlan Galvin was coming through the grades, and he is right here still with his 2 brothers that are killing it. And we've got, like, Adam Dewey, who before fucking Lachlan Galvin and Latu Fainu even finished high school was being touted as our captain. He's off contract. What do we do with him? There's 3 fucking really good halfbacks off contract named Adam Reynolds, Daly Cherry Evans, and Jamal Fogarty. We got options. Let's move on. Let's move past Lachlan Galvin.
Well said. Okay, and speaking of, so obviously we went live yesterday with the news that the Tigers have made inquiries around Daly Cherry Evans' availability for 2026. That absolutely 100% happened. In the days that have followed, the Tigers have sort of picked Jerome Luai's brain and said, look, what are you looking at moving forward? He has made it clear to the club, a little bit of news, that Latu Fainu would be his ideal pick at the scrum base. So that's not to say that the Cherry Evans rumour is completely dead in the water, but that is Luai's preference. And to be quite honest with you, the man on $1.3 million, most of the time you do tend to do what he says.
Especially if he's backing the coach, right? Like, if he's being a company man right now, like, you know, he's just winning even more control. He's saying all the right things. He's being a good captain, being a good guy around the club. He's playing the political game perfectly.
I completely agree. Mate, anything else to touch on in this Galvin situation before we start talking some football?
Just on the topic you just brought up, I think Latu Fainu is an out-and-out 6. I every time that I've seen him, like, play 7, whether it's in New South Wales Cup or whether it's you know, when he was lining up next to Galvin in first grade, I don't think he's on ball enough. I don't think he's, like, dominant on ball when it's compared to Jerome Luai. What you'll remember about Adam Dewey is that Adam Dewey used to overcall our halfback a lot when he was playing 6. Even 1, he'd get in there and he'd fucking steal the ball, and, like, we used to get pissed off about that. So Adam Dewey being given the 7 and Jerome Luai moving back to 6 kind of, like, I know I'm really, really seeing around the corner here, but, like, it makes me think that maybe they're actually planning on going in the market for a 7. Because I personally think that if they were planning on backing Latu Fainu, why would you move Jerome Luai, who's trained the whole time as a 7, just for the games before he comes back in, especially when Dewey's a 6? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like this Dewey 7, Luai 6 subtly implies that I feel like that they might be still looking for a senior 7.
And furthermore, that Shane Richardson was listening yesterday.
Well, I mean, everybody at the Tigers listens to the West Tigers Faithful podcast, number 1 West Tigers podcast of them all. Number 2, Tiger Town. Number 3, the rest of those Chuckle Fox.
All right. We beat the Knights 20-4 on Sunday afternoon. I was a nervous wreck up until about the 65th minute because I know what we produced. But, look, I think that we were dominant. And I'm not going to say, look, in terms of our attack was shit house. And Marshall said as much. And we had some, everybody was trying to work out what on earth had happened. Monday told the story of what had happened. But to give you an idea, we had 57% of possession. We completed at 78% compared to Newcastle 67. But this is where it really counts. We ran for 500 metres more than the Knights, 1975 to 1498. We had an average set distance of 48.19 metres in comparison to 37.47 from the Knights. We offloaded the footy plenty. We passed the ball around a lot. We were phenomenal, I thought, mainly around our forward pack. We have worked extremely hard with our line speed, our contact, and just our willingness. Some of the blokes that were hit men on the weekend, if you told me 12 months ago that Fanua Bolle would have laid out 2 Newcastle players in consecutive sets, I would have laughed in your face. If you had told me that it was Samuel Afainu, who I know can put a good shot on, but is a little bit more attack focused, was going to be the one that would fold Crossland like a deck chair, again, I would have been quite surprised. Defence is an attitude, and the attitude that these boys are bringing every week is just so exciting. And it's not like all the rage goes away when Terrell and Fanua Bolle come off. You've then got a bloke like Sione Fainu who's just crushing skulls. It is absolutely wonderful to watch, and the good teams, even when they're playing shit, and we played shit, find a way to win. And more often than not, that is from their middle setting a standard. And we have 2 starting middles that are getting such high praise. Todd Carney, like a wonderful footballer. Forget his off-field stuff. On his podcast today, he said that we have the 2 form front rowers in the comp in our wheelhouse starting for us every single fucking week. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I feel like I'm coming across every week like a Terrell May hater. But so let me flip the script a little bit. He is awesome. He's currently second in the Daily M. Crazy. We have a front rower that we picked off the scrap heap in January who's second in the Daily M. What the fuck? What happened? How did that happen? Fanua Bolle, he's gone to another level. Sensational. They're great. They're great props. They are. Terrell May is an interesting type of prop to me, and last week we talked about his Origin credentials, and I said I don't see him as an Origin prop.
I don't disagree. After thinking about it and seeing him getting monstered in contact every now and again, I do worry about it. But for us, he is wonderful to anchor our rotation on.
Right. I think he reminds me. His play style is more JFH than JWH. Right. Like he's got a huge motor. He can get knocked down, but next time you try to dominate him in contact, he'll dominate you. He's like the T-1000 from Terminator. Maybe that should be his nickname, T-1000. Hey, let's coin that one. That's a good one. I thought we sucked. I'm sorry.
Wait, in attack...
let me go.
In attack, we were hopeless. I agree. Go on. Let me go.
Our forward pack hard carried us. Hard carried. I thought that the game was pretty... it played out like I predicted that it would, pretty to the letter, except Newcastle were worse than I expected them to be.
Oh, they were
I can't sit here and be like, what a win, amazing, look at everybody conquered the mighty Newcastle Knights, who played the worst game of football in the history of that club. And they've gone 3 wooden spoons in a row. You go on Knights forums, you go on Reddit and shit, it was incredible how poorly they played. Kalen Ponga didn't show up, and he was their only threat. Bradman Best caught a cold, he wasn't going looking for the ball, and so everything, the whole Knights game plan was rotting through a whole bunch of dudes who are probably, bottom tier players in the NRL. You got Phoenix fucking Crossland trying to play like Andrew Johns, bro. That team has problems. the West Tigers who showed up on the weekend off the back of the Lachlan Galvin news seeping through the club, and with the clique that no doubt would have been forming there already, to win 20-4 speaks volumes about the problems that the Newcastle Knights have. What have they got in terms of this year? They're on 46 total points scored after 6 rounds. Which is about half the second, I think. They're in disarray. But I've been that because that we got out of jail. To have them show up and time the worst performance they could have possibly mustered.
Yep.
To time it at probably the bottom of our season. That's probably where the boys will have the least motivation. They're travelling on the road in a packed out Hunter Stadium, hostile territory, and the Knights, thank fuck, didn't show up and we escaped with 2 points. This week will be different because they're going to band together. They're going to be taking on Parramatta, who just had 50 put on them again. Mitchell Moses is back. That might, make them a 12, maybe even 18-point better side. But they need to be a 30-point better side to beat us this weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Want to speak about something that I had on the tip sheet, but Doug's already made mention of it in the comments, and that's Stafford Tyre.
Ripper.
Yeah, look, he, for a little while, there's been concerns around his attitude, but I feel like I've seen enough this year to believe that last year was a write-off due to his injuries. He put together a really, really good stretch of grade in 2023, which sort of culminated in that game against the Cowboys, but he is playing so much more consistently. I'm not asking for him to put his opposite on their arse every single week. I just want to see him make the right reads, make the right tackles, and really do the right things.
He's classy, man. He's classy.
He is. The way that, and look, credit where credit's due. Lachlan Galvin, seeing that Greg Marju was back on that for us to score that first try, set the wheels in motion. But the way in which Stafford, in a very, very tight corridor down that right edge, was able to square up and suck in that defender to give to River that pass just speaks volumes of the instincts that this kid has. And look, defensively is where I'm most pleased with Stafford, and he's always shown that he's had it. But he's been wonderful. Blaine's just said, seems like Bunji's call to bring Star into the leadership groups put a rocket up him. Yeah, I think it has. But I think that it's also the belief that Bunji's had in him. Bunji's had belief in him from the outset. I think that, I think it was back end of 23 going into pre-season 24. We signed him for an additional 2 years before he went to free agency. And a lot of people were confused about it, myself included. It was like, okay, all right, he had probably a 2-month stretch of good footy, but Marshall's just continued to back him. They finally gave him the time he needed to get over his niggling injuries, and look at him go.
He's a ripper, mate. He keeps this up week in, week out, and we've got ourselves a top 5 centre in the NRL. I think. I don't think that's unfair. If he plays his best games that he's played this year, and he's been consistent. And the thing about Star is that he's a balanced type of player. Like, what he does well are things that, he's not a freak. Like, he doesn't like pull things out of the top drawer like somebody like Bula or Tito Tavano, who, I don't know if you saw the try he scored in Flegg on the weekend, but it was insane.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Star beats people when he gets one-on-one with them, with footwork, with strength, with defend. He's quick enough, but he's not rapid. He's a great defender. He makes the good decisions. He's not a ball hog. You gotta love it. I love the question Charlie asked, is Staruva, which is a great name.
Yeah, they're not BWT.
Is Staruva the best edge in the NRL? I would say, with my Homer glasses on, that they've got to be the best right edge in the NRL right now.
Crichton Carraz.
Okay, but Staruva's a second top try scorer. I know Crichton Carraz is good, but in terms of the form, in terms of the produce, in terms of what they're actually putting out on the field, the Bulldogs are winning in many, many more areas than we are. Like, we're basically going to our right, like, every fucking play. Like,
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I'd say there's probably, you know, the 1A, 1B.
Look,
Say.
I'm being really, I'm being a hard marker here. I must admit, they have been exceptional to start the year. We were so worried I was losing sleep over our right edge. They have quashed any problems that I have had to bed, and to be quite frank, Lachlan Galvin has been a part of that. Seafarth, Galvin, it will now be Dewey, who has really straightened up defensively this year. Stafford and Sania Taruva, they've built their game on their defence, but when they've had the opportunity to play down that edge, they have not missed their opportunities. And you know, after looking at round one, where we barely went right edge compared to now, it's incredible. But Adam Dewey's got some tools at his disposal. Just quickly, Jay just asked, do we think Luai having a major... Oh, yeah, do you want to jump here?
Yeah, I was just going to quickly jump in on that one.
Yeah, okay, can I go? Does Galvin's exclusion leave the attacking structure lost? No, but I think you'll see us do things differently. I think that you will very much see traditional halves play, where you see Luai set up on the left and Dewey set up on the right. I think Jareen will just swing both sides. I don't really see him swing left often, but he typically moves to the right, and Galvin does a lot of sweeping to the left. Don't be surprised if you see Jareen sweep both sides. Yeah. Again, left foot kicker, right foot kicker, that opens up the field. Dewey's got a little bit more distance and he can put the ball high in the air, as you mentioned earlier. But I think for the most part, they will do exactly as they have done. They will play through the middle. They will manipulate the defence as they always do until they get a split. And then once, Appy will send the ball where it needs to go. But again, I think you will see Jareen pull a sweep left this week a little bit more. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree entirely with you. I think that's exactly what will happen. The answer I was going to give is what structure? Like the structure of give the ball to Lachlan Galvin and hope for the best. Like, it's not like our attacking structure looked like good on the weekend, or really has at all. Like we said last week that we've been scoring on average 4 or 5 tries a game, but looking like a 7 or 8 points better team in terms of the position on the field. Our forward pack put us in, and the that sort of stuff. So, look, if we change to playing Jerome Luai in his normal role that he was used to playing outside Nathan Cleary, and like he's a left side dominant player, Jareem Buller takes over the role that Lachlan Galvin's been playing in that sweeping role. Adam Dewey is a right side dominant player, and he's quite good on the right. When he deputised against Brisbane, he put on a really nice try from going down the blind side on the right. He's a natural left to right pass. So I expect it to improve things.
With a wonderful long ball, by the way. Yeah. A wonderful long ball. And one that Madge wanted him to park, but it's probably the best thing he has in his arsenal. But
he's a better ball runner than Lachlan Galvin too, in my opinion. Like
he stole the words out of my mouth.
At least at this point in his career, like, he's harder to tackle. He's more likely to break a tackle than Lachlan Galvin.
Definitely.
They're some really quite similar players when you really break it down. Like their tendencies, the things that they're good at, and when you really break down, if I asked you, and I'm not gonna because we need to move on, but if I asked you what Lachlan Galvin's strengths are, what does he do better than Adam Dewey when Adam Dewey was at his best?
I like the way that Lachlan picks apart an edge. I think that the try the Toa try that he set up at the scrum base was pure ball playing. I don't really see that from Adam. As much as I love his long ball, he does have a tendency sometimes to premeditate. I think sometimes he can also premeditate with his running game. This is me being super picky. I think that Adam is a better ball runner. Yes, absolutely. He's a centre. He's a little bit bigger. He's actually faster than Lachlan Galvin. One of the few players he's actually faster than. And he's got better distance on his kicks. So I think you lose a little bit and you gain a little bit in different areas. But you also get a guy that is a specialist right edge half, and Galvin was still developing on that left-hand side.
Yeah. So yeah, I think look, we've been getting heaps of good questions. Keep them coming, but we probably, for the people who listen back to this episode, we probably need to hit the notes, right?
Yeah, just quickly, because I was going to talk about it. Jay asked, do we think Luai is having a major part of the Panthers dynasty going to shit? Well, he's the chief energy officer, and you've only got to see the change in our defensive attitude with him on the field. To really witness it. His energy through the week, he helps you win every single day of the week. And look, I think that with Penrith, effectively losing Fisher Harris, Luai and Taruva was the straw that eventually broke the camel's back. They've lost some incredible players over the time, but look, they've got a great nucleus, and they'll be back, and you never write off a champion team, and they'll put it together eventually. But yes, quite currently, I don't think that they would have the win-loss record they currently do if Jerome Luai was still on that side.
Yep.
Beautiful. You want to touch on any of these, or do you want to jump into the Eels preview?
Let's go.
Beautiful. All right. Let me run through the team sheet. Fullback, Jareen Buller. On the wings are... I was going to say Jarrell Skelton. I don't have it in front of me. Sania Taruva and Luke Laulii. He returns to the side. Centre's Brent Naden. He'll play left edge, Starford right. Jerome Luai in the number 6. We'll talk about that straight after I get through this. Adam Dewey in the 7. The forward pack is the exact same way that it always is. Terrell May, Upper Sai Coruscant, Whenua Bole, Samuela Fainu, Alex Seafarth, Alex Twal, and the cartel on the bench. Talon, Royce, Jack, and Sione Fainu. Jerome 6, is this... I think it's a bit of optics around team first, which seems to be a common theme at the moment amongst our boys. But I also think this is, Jerome, forget organising. You've got a bloke that can kick the footy better. Just fucking run the ball.
Yeah, maybe it's also got something to do with the fact that Adam Dewey was training at 7 in the off-season in our structures, because I think that was the case, because I think Adam Dewey initially was named to play 7 in New South Wales Cup.
That's correct.
So it might be that, like, he might be actually, like, more... They think Luai's going to do a better job shifting to Galvin's role.
Yeah, okay.
Dewey's going to do a better job playing the 7.
Good point, mate. Really good point. Look, I think our attacker changes a little bit, but ultimately, Jerome's still the guy. A lot of the attack is still going to flow through him. I think that they'll share the kicking a little bit, and that'll open up the field, which is really, really good for us. That's something that Parramatta don't necessarily have. They probably have the best kicker of the ball in the competition coming back this week, and we'll get to him. But he's only one man, and Dylan Brown doesn't kick the footy. So for us, that's really, really good. Brent Naden and Luke Laulii have come into the side, just to read off the stats. So Luke had a try. He had 12 runs for 119 metres, so just a shade under 10 metres a carry. He had a line break, a couple of missed tackles, but I'll give him some grace on that and the one error. But Brent Naden had a phenomenal comeback. 20 runs for 199 metres, once again a shade under 10 metres a carry. He had 100. He didn't miss a tackle. 6 tackles made, none missed. It is absolutely wonderful to have him back and healthy, because this is a totally different player to what we had in our wheelhouse 12 months ago.
Yeah, you are 100% right, and I think that him getting injured so early into the season. And the form that he put on the field being mostly confined to trials probably means a lot of people are sleeping on Brent Naden. As you just pointed out, this version of Brent Naden is different. He's physically different. He's leaner. He has less fat around his face. He looks healthier. He looks stronger. He's a big guy. I met him face to face for the first time when I went to the New South Wales Cup game a few weeks ago. I actually introduced myself to him and actually said hi. He's big. I'm 6'2", and he's bigger than me. He's a big guy, and so is Adam Dewey, right? So he's going to probably come in and provide an upgrade on what Adam Dewey was doing at left centre, because that's Naden's natural position. It's not Adam Dewey's natural position, and Adam Dewey's been doing pretty bloody good at it, but I can't see how Brent Naden's not going to come in there and do even better.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I think he's a more pure centre, and he offers a little bit more. I think just speed. I think he puts a little bit more doubt in his opposite's mind, and that's not to say
also a bigger hitter.
Yeah, that's right. Now, look, none of this is to say that Adam Dewey, is a worse player. They're just different, and I think that for what we need on that left edge, and for, quite frankly, what Jerome Luai needs outside of him, I think I think we can be very, very excited. On Lukey, I think that he will have who's right edge for them? That was Lomax, but who's there now? I think it's Bailey Simonson. I don't think that's too hard of an assignment for him. Both are pretty quick fellas, but I'll back Luke to have a good game there. He'll just have to deal with these spiral kicks from one Mitchell Moses. Looking at these matchups, and obviously this is effectively a return leg. We've played these blokes already this year. Parramatta are very undersized, very, very undersized. Jack Williams, who was a back rower at Cronulla, is starting in the front row. Riley Smith, I know he's a dummy half, but he's a very, very small man and somebody you can spot in defence. Junior Bolo's lost 10 or 12 kilos that he probably shouldn't have lost. You've got Kelma Tuolangi there, which is amazing for us because, my God, he is so fucking lazy. Kitioni Kautonga, big fan, great player. Always liked him when he was with us coming through the ranks. But he is young and he is inexperienced. And Jermaine Hopgood's a small man, and as much as I rate him as a player, he can't do it all on his own. The bench, Dylan Walker, Luca Moretti, Matt Dury and Sam Tuivasa. Tuivasa is the only big body there. Now, look, there are small teams that can make it work, and you look at the Bulldogs. But at the same time, I just don't see that from Parramatta. And as long as our forward pack turn up and play to the exact same standard that they have for the past 6 weeks, I am confident of another positive result.
We are aligned. I was going to say very similar things. I think maximum Parramatta are maximum at best 3 tries in them. That's at best. I don't. They're going to struggle. If we show up with the same defensive intent that we've showed up in every game, even the Broncos game, I don't think that we showed up with poor intent in the Broncos game. The Broncos just got lucky a few times, really. Parramatta don't have the same attacking strike that Brisbane do, not even close. They're missing Lomax, who's pretty much the straw that stirs the drink when it comes to all their point scoring. So Mitch Moses comes in, Lomax goes out. Oh man, it's hard not to be confident. I mean, we flogged them earlier in the year when they, when our team had less cohesion and were more kind of just trying to figure things out. I don't see a pathway for Parramatta to win this game. I think the odds are too short for them, to be honest.
I look at what's happened this week, and with Galvin not on the side and Luai already being quite vocal early in the week, and a lot of these stories coming out, and you're seeing Fanua and Sione a bit unsettled on social media. I feel like it's come at a really good time. Typically, you would sort of see this as a danger game. I remember 2018 when Parramatta were going terribly and they beat us in the wet at ANZ on Easter Monday. I feel like this feels to me... Sorry, it wasn't Easter Monday, it was a return fixture again, but it feels like to me that this has sort of come at the right time. It's almost like, what Michael Jordan used to do, just go looking for motivation. I feel like it was a good time for it to sort of come. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think what you're trying to say is that the boys are going to be fired up.
Yeah, I am.
Big fired up, and they've got cannon fodder in front of them. So if we were showing up, if Parramatta are the worst team in the NRL, let's be honest. And we just played them. We got really lucky. You're 100% right. We got really lucky just playing Newcastle, walking into Parramatta. The boys are going to be fired up. They're going to want to hurt people. They're going to let the ball sing. I think this might be the coming out party of the team. Honestly, I feel like strike on the right. There could be periods of this game where we'll score at will, and without Galvin in there, being a bit of a tuber in the string section, we're not going to have to do. We're not going to have to do much different to what we just plan to do to beat their players one-on-ones. Toa's going to beat his man one-on-one. Naden will beat his man one-on-one. Like, Taruva will beat his man. Like, how are they going to stop us? They're going to stop us through the middle? No. Api Coruscant's going to have a field day through the middle. Parramatta's only chance is to play highest of high percentage football, simple football, high completions, keep the ball down our end, keep us away from their try line, and try to win a 10-8 game where they drag us down and we can't score points. That's their only path to victory.
Which I think is quite difficult. But let's talk about Mitch Moses for a minute. As I mentioned, probably the best natural kicker of the ball in the league at the moment. I think I look at what Luai did for us last week in terms of communication, defensive resolve, and sort of overall temperament, and sort of what we didn't have against Brisbane compared to what we had against Newcastle. And I think that Mitchell will bring that. I think he has a different approach. I think he's a hard taskmaster and quite the authoritarian. But nonetheless, these good players, they always lift the floor. Now, look, I'm really, really interested to see how he comes back. Look, he loves these Easter Monday games. He loves playing against us. He loves it. He's got a vendetta against his club, as does his uncle Isaac. But I'm really, really interested to see how he comes back. Again, the great players in these days, sports science is so good that they really just hit the ground running, and you've seen that even amongst our boys. But I'm really, really interested to see the effect that he has on this team. But again, I just think with what's happened to us this week, couple of changes to the team, two guys coming into the side with a little bit of added motivation to stay there in Luke and Brent, and then furthermore, Adam Dewey, he's in the shop window this week.
He is in the shop window.
So
yes. He shouldn't be in the shop window much more. We need to re-sign that guy.
Somebody just asked, is this DJ Tiger Town? Yeah, it is.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I haven't been called that in many years, but yes, indeed.
Hello, DJ Tiger Town.
Hello, Subbox. Yes.
Let me. I don't think it matters how good Mitchell Moses is if he's passing the ball to people who have flippers for hands. Like, I don't think it matters. Like, and Mitchell Moses is the sort of player when his team aren't putting in, he loses it. He loses it. He's not like somebody who is like steady. He's emotional. Like, he's talented, and when the players around him are in sync with him, he's damaging. He's a bit more like mentally more like Cody Walker than he is like somebody like Daly Cherry Evans. Like he's gonna need the players around him to lift to a standard that we haven't seen any of these players play at in ages. None of them. Dylan Brown's out of form, out of the club. He's the only other real threat in the side. Riley Smith's a rookie 9. Yongi's a rookie 1. They've got like depth players playing out of position. They've got we need to smash them.
Somebody for my little black book is Dylan Walker. He offers something entirely different to Hopgood. They're both ball players, but the speed that Walker sort of brings through the middle and sort of this natural ball playing ability that he's always possessed can open up guys like Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses. It's going to be really, really important that our boys that get on the field are very, very mindful of that. Up together, strong line speed, strong contact, and really minimising any sort of danger that he brings. But once again, I'm confident of a win. It feels nice to say that. So roll into your score prediction, mate.
54-0.
All right, I'll go.
I don't know. I haven't predicted a full blowout yet this year. Why not? Let's go nuts.
All right, I will go. I'll go 32-12 to the Tigers.
I'd take that. That sounds about what that's pretty reasonable based on the Tigers' performances so far this year.
I can see it being close initially. I think Parra will be up for a big crowd. Monday Arvo, this is a big regular season game. This is one in the black book every single year. Mitchell Moses is coming back. I think that he'll provide a bit of energy initially, but I am confident that with the blokes that we bring on the bench, that and in the class that we have. And again, what's happened through the week, plus Nathan and Lauliti coming to the side, doing the shot winner on the right edge. Let's wait and see.
I don't even know if Moses is going to play, man. I wouldn't rule out this being just ducks and drakes from the coach, bro, because Moses was originally not scheduled to return, and this was news from last week. He wasn't scheduled to return till round 9.
Mm.
Maybe you name him here on the hopes that he can get on the field come Monday, but it's outlying chance, and by naming him, if he doesn't play, you've made the Tigers have to account for a player that doesn't end up being there. It can be a pretty good tactic.
Yeah, it'd be interesting from Riles for him to do that, but
obviously Riles thinks there's a chance. That's definitely true.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But again, predicting a win, we thought without Mitchell for Parramatta, and hopefully we are vindicated in that decision. Pathways, you spoke about it before, Tino Tavana. If any of you watching haven't seen it, go to NBWT on X, and he's got the video highlight in there somewhere.
NBWT, if you're watching, just post the link to your Twitter in the comments.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go and find it, because my God, it is phenomenal. I'm going to drop it in the comments. It is the best individual.
Try a screen share, see if it works. We haven't tried that.
Hold on a sec. Yep. Screen.
As long as
I can't do it at the moment, because I've got to. If not, I'd have to click out of it. But I'll post the link because you all deserve to see it. It is phenomenal. But another win for Flegg. I mean, a win for every grade. Sydney Shield, Ron Massey Cup, Jersey Flegg, New South Wales Cup, NRL, which is phenomenal. The girls, Lisa Fiaola and Tasha Gale, one had a win, one had a loss, but they're both playing finals this week. But incredible scenes at Newcastle on Sunday. Valentino was amazing. Max Lyles' running game and his kicking game, quite frankly, was very good. I think he's too good for that level. Unfortunately, though, he's got one Lachlan Galvin that's currently playing reserve grade. I'd love to see Richo dunk on Lachlan and company and put Lylesy there and stick Lachlan in Jersey Flegg, but that's for another day. But look, really, really good to see these boys string some wins together now and build some momentum. And in these comps, that is everything. It's extremely important that you string a few together for your confidence, for your combinations, and ultimately for having a positive season.
Yeah, I'd like to see us put Tino Tavana on a development contract pretty soon, because he's putting himself in the old shop window with feats like that. Like that sort of athletic potential, like that freakishness, is the stuff you can't teach, stuff you can't coach. That's the sort of player that other clubs come sniffing around. So if we don't lock him down, somebody else will. And it's not as though we have incredible depth at centre.
No, and I would like to see him developed as a centre. I think that'd be wonderful. He can still be his aerial threat. I think more things will happen around him. He can ball play really, really nicely. I'd really like to see that happen. Joseph Lanyon, who is the elder brother of one James Lanyon, plays a bit of 9, a bit of 13. He has been wonderful to start this year. Provides a lot of impact and try-scoring threat, and is a guy that is, was a wonderful recruitment by Shannon Gallant. And guys like Cameron Canaan and Max Tautua continue to show their class as well, as does Iverson Matai as well, who's a very, very silky player in his own right. Just quickly looking ahead, they play Parramatta this weekend. Parramatta are, I think, 4-1. We are 3-2 or something. Hopefully we get a win. But most importantly, 3 players that signed futures contract. I believe development 26, top 30 27. Jared Haywood, Phoenix Godinay, and Christian Torpau Moores all on the extended bench. Anything else, mate?
Nope.
Wonderful. Let's go to State Cup. Got a win there. The score I cannot remember. But
actually, I do have one more thing, Dad.
Oh, you go on.
That one loss on the Parramatta for Parramatta Flegg this year was to us.
Oh, well, there you have it. Chance to do the double at Lidcombe at midday on Saturday. State Cup. good to get a win. And look, Kurt falls after having I would say, a slow start of the season, coming back from shoulder surgery, is delivering on what we sort of thought he would bring. Set up a couple of tries, scored one himself, kicked really, really nicely. And a lot of these boys are, actually shaping up, in the right manner, which is a sign of a good halfback. Ruben Porter had his best game all year. A guy that has been really, really poor, got on the score sheet twice. The line that Fatape ran on just that faceball shape inside shoulder on his opposite centre was gorgeous. And we spoke about Brett Naden and Luke Lallee as well. Obviously, a little bit of moving and shaking this week for these boys. Lachlan Galvin in that side against a very, very experienced Parramatta team. But good signs from these boys. They actually look like they are playing for each other and actually want to win games, which is a far cry from what they were dishing up a few weeks back.
Yeah, it's bittersweet because they had to get a good win after they dropped Timmy Johansson, who, obviously, we have had chats with and stuff like that, is a little bit crap. But to his credit, he had a blinder in Ron Massey Cup. I don't know if you saw the footage. But,
I did.
Big runaway try and 2 try assists, a flick pass try assist. No, it's good to see the New South Wales Cup team performing. I don't know what's up with I'm still like mildly perturbed by like some of the structure of the direction of the team, because to see like Kit Lalali'i play 40 minutes and have 4 hit-ups, and then off the bench Jackson Rami come off the bench, play 44 minutes and have 13 hit-ups, and obviously all of the extra meterage that goes with that. Like, I don't know whether that's an issue with like the way they use Kit, or Kit's actual appetite for carries. What do you think about this? Because I know that's been a little bit of the knock on Kit as a middle in the past. Is he kind of just regressing back to that kind of, I don't want to say cat, but a little bit more reserved kind of version of himself?
Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure on what's going on there with Kit. Look, you would like to see him run the footy more. I'm just looking at the numbers here, and Charlie Murray had a wonderful game, and that's a credit to him. But yeah, our back rowers had a fair few carries compared to Kit. Kit only missed a single tackle, but yeah, I think it's quite disappointing to see the numbers of the others and the metrics. And look, Kit's average carries always been solid. Last year, it was a little bit wanting, but before then, it's been okay. It's an interesting one, because you look at the minutes he's getting. He got half a game on the weekend. A run every 10 minutes. That's not good enough.
No, and I'd like to watch it back to see if maybe he just had an unfortunately large amount of minutes where we didn't have the ball, but it still seems low, even if that is the case.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Doug's just said that he reckons that Tavana's the only flag player with potential. I don't know about that, mate. Have a look at Max Tautua. Have a look at Iverson Matai and Maxi Lyles, as we spoke about before. Mitch Tautua's all right in his own right. Lachlan Broadalow, if he can get his defence right, is very, very good. We gave our flowers to Joseph Lanyon, and those 3 that are on the bench, Haywood, Godinay and Torpau Moores, are all big part of this club's future. Mac, have you got anything else?
Cameron Cannan, I think, has a little bit of a chance. I can see a pathway for him to becoming an NRL player too. But again, I think while ever they've got him at fullback, it's probably to his detriment, because I don't see him as an NRL fullback. I see him as an NRL centre or an NRL winger.
Indeed. Mate, have you got anything else to touch on? It's we've done 2 podcasts in 2 days. We've had plenty of engagement from our wonderful commenters and listeners. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, we're good here. It's been a pleasure. Go Tigers. Hopefully we get a big win this weekend. And the media is going to turn this into a circus with Galvin. Like, at the end of the day, 19-year-old player decides to leave the club. We've got another 19-year-old player in his exact position who, for all intents and purposes, has been more highly regarded than him the whole time. So it's not going to be the end of the world.
That's it. Farewell. See you next week. 4th Wingcast.